Nkosi Sikelele in Africa. We trust for blessings as another day dawns here. Good morning, Jeffreys Bay.
Their tickets to Trestles, but the pressure is building for the newcomers trying to hang on and superstars trying to get in. Only 2 events remain to clinch a spot in the final 5. The hunt for the Rip Curl WSL Finals continues at the Corona Open J-Bay. What a beautiful sunrise, and welcome to South Africa. Ryan Callanan hanging out with Richard Dog Marsh in the early morning light. Andre, Tati's filmer, looking at morning conditions. Exciting times for all of our athletes. Sarah Baum in the event as a wild card. Caroline Marks, her backhand attack so radical at this venue. And Ethan Ewing, the defending event champion, world number 3, preparing his Darren Hanleys along with Molly Picklum, and Caitlin Simmers enjoying her first trip to South Africa as well. And the man of the moment, Iago Dora, fresh off his first CT win. This guy doesn't mind traveling. That was Rio before, straight from Brazil all the way to South Africa. The home break of Matthew McGillivray, who loves hosting the best surfers in the world at the best right-hand point break on the planet. Thanks for being with us on Dawn Patrol. Joe Turpel, Peter Mel, Richie Lovett here for the morning call. Richie, first starting with you. Welcome back to J-Bay, my friend.
Thanks, mate. It's been 18 long years, and it's fantastic to be back. The last time I was here, and the last heat I had here, actually, was against the late, great Andy Irons. And, you know, what a magical place. The town's expanded, but one thing hasn't changed, and that's the magical wave.
Yeah, and you think about that, this wave, one of the best in the world. Good to be back here. It's nice and chilly, which we like to see here at J-Bay. You know what? This wave has not changed, as you mentioned, Rich, and I can't wait to see what unfolds at this event.
Pete, the energy is solid because the world's best were greeted to beautiful waves the last few days, even a solid swell. You know, when they're scoring perfect conditions, they're incredibly happy and ready to compete.
That's true. You know, dialing the boards in, especially when you have a nice little swell to get kind of warmed up, it's very important.
And also, Rich, looking at what, you know, the tools to succeed to have on a wave like this. It is perfect, but you definitely have to be on your toes to compete.
Yeah, absolutely. Equipment, a huge part of the equation here, and it's a really, really difficult wave to surf. You know, it's perfect. It looks magical, but I can attest, I'm still trying to figure it out. I had a surf yesterday. I was like, man, this wave is just really, really difficult to surf, you know, and it's going to be fantastic watching all week how our competitors do figure that out.
As we check out where we are in this beautiful world, we head over to South Africa. Long travel times to get here, going to the Eastern Cape, and you can see how all this southwest energy comes through and the wind gets redirected.
well, so it's a magical place.
Oh, what a setup. And starting off at Boneyard, we talked to a lot of the locals. They say sometimes you can get one all the way through. Hopefully it's one of those waiting periods where we score some great waves. Let's get the official call for the morning with our Senior Manager of Tours and Competition, Travis Logie, is with AJ.
No one better to give us this call here on the first day of the waiting period at J-Bay. So Travis, walk us through our very first call.
Morning, AJ. Yep, looking at the long-term forecast, today definitely falls within the top 4 days of the event. So easy call this morning. We're on men's opening round followed by a women's opening round as the plan for today.
So walk us through what we're watching for conditions and any potential changes to that plan.
Yeah, this morning we have some light devil wind and then it should almost die off completely. This afternoon there is quite a strong onshore forecasted, which we'll keep an eye on. But it's still looking like a great day. The swell should actually slightly improve through the day, the size of the swell. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Cannot wait. Thank you so much. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks, AJ. Great news from Travis Logie. It is officially on. I'm going right into the Surfline forecast to break down this call for this opening day, saying this little south-southwest bump today. Looks like we're off and running, Pete.
And one thing we are lucky about is that we have this south angle. So the swell isn't big, but it is a perfect angle. It's actually going to come into the points. We'll get most of the size. If you get it more west, it tends to kind of have to sweep in here and you lose a little of the energy. Looking out, the next couple days here, there is some drop in the swell. Today is supposed to hold pretty darn strong. As you can see, it's almost going to increase by the afternoon. There is that onshore flow that is forecast to kind of come in this afternoon, but we have the opening round underway. We've got a few heats, so we can, get probably everything in before that onshore hits.
And then, Rich, looking at the next 4 days.
Yeah, it looks kind of interesting. As Pete said, the next 2 days, it does taper off a little bit, but then after that, it gets really interesting again. And for me, the 16th, 17th, we start to see that bump in the swell, and then the 18th and 19th, things get really interesting. We've got a solid swell coming in. And Pete, as you said, it's all about the swell direction here. 210 to 225 degrees. That's kind of the optimum direction for the southwest swell. And that's what we have towards the end of the period.
Looking forward to it. So a quick start. We are on here on opening day. And remember, it's stop 9 of the season with just 10 complete events in the regular season as all roads lead to the Rip Curl WSL Finals at Lowers this September. So we'll see what we're looking at as far as the final 5 scenarios, really focusing on who will be competing for that title race. Checking it out now, Caitlin Simmers up to number 5 after her win in Brazil. Picklum hanging on to 4th. Remember, Tyler and Carissa Moore have already clinched those spots, so only 3 spots remaining. Talk about pressure there. Yago Dor into 5th. Chianca still 4th, right above him. Ethan moved up 1 spot after finaling in South America. And Cole Pinto just traded the yellow jersey to Felipe Toledo after his elimination round loss. Remember the last time we saw Toledo, he came limping into the beach when he lost to Jadson Andre. Let's get an injury update with AJ McCord.
Joe, I got a chance to catch up with Felipe yesterday when he was doing the press conference here in J-Bay. And the great news for surf fans and Felipe fans around the world is he told me he has absolutely no pain in that right knee. He said when he first injured it in Brazil, he felt like it was going to be a lot worse because of the amount of pain he's in. But he and his team have been working really hard to make sure he is very ready for J-Bay. They've done all the tests, a lot of PT. So his team, a big part of the reason he feels really confident coming into this competition here in J-Bay. He was going out for his first free surf yesterday. I didn't get a chance to catch up with him after that, but I did see him. A whole lot of smiles from Felipe Toledo, and he's bringing a lot of confidence back here to J-Bay as the 2-time champ.
Toledo jamming away. Aggression, speed, power, flow, and including a risky ending.
And and again goes to the air. You are kidding me.
Toledo is your champion here in 2018. Back-to-back titles. Good morning once again here to South Africa. One of the best right-handers in the entire world. Hosts the world's best once again. This is opening day, a nice Thursday morning, and it is called on, starting with men's opening round of competition, followed by the women. Joe Turpel with Big Wave World Champ Pete Mel, longtime CT standout Richie Lovett on his comeback tour to Jeffreys Bay. But gentlemen, we really got to focus in on the rankings. Things are getting very exciting heading into the back end of the season for a number of reasons. But checking this out, Dora, member, moved up to number 5 in the world. We're starting to look back like at the top 11 in the world to really look at who has a serious chance of making the World Title Day in September. Starting with you, Richie, I mean, what are some of the names outside the Final Five that you think could make a dent in this contest?
Well, you look at number 6 and 7 there, and John Florence and Gabrielle Medina are the obvious names too. Just absolute demons, when it comes to competition. And I really like John's chances here, although he hasn't surfed the J-Bay event many times. You feel like his style is really suited to these long J-Bay walls, especially when there's a bit of size. So if he can get through these earlier rounds where it's perhaps going to be a little smaller and inconsistent, I think we'll see John shine towards the end of the event.
Just love that we can say his name now, surfing through a solid part of the year. He's dealt with injuries in the past. What about you, Pete, looking outside the Final Five?
I like Mr. Consistency, Leo Fioravanti. I think that he has an outside chance here. He's been very consistent, surfing really well. His warm-ups have been awesome. If you were able to check out those bigger swells, surfing really well. Even yesterday in the smaller stuff, just looked impeccable. So I like his chances.
Yeah, he has been incredibly consistent, starting off with that pipe final, the best of his year. Looking at Jack Robinson, though, Pete, I got to ask you, number 1 in the world to kick off the season since his injury at Bell's, he really hasn't made any heats.
Yeah, he hasn't. There's been 3 early round losses. Injury was the major culprit to that. And, but at this point, he is now 100%. But confidence-wise, I think that's going to be something that he's going to have to find. This place, he can do that. Past finalist, right? Last year, he was runner-up. So you like his chances. Again, another one of those surfers, we got to look at the free surfs, and he looked amazing. So I like Jack's chances as well. But you think about all the guys sitting after the Final Five right now, they all want a piece. And so it's going to be an exciting last 2 events here, especially here at J-Bay.
Jack Robinson has Fioravanti, Mr. Consistency, and the local hero here, Jordy Smith, multiple-time champion. And sometimes it's just a rhythm issue, isn't it, Richie, where you finally feel 100%, but things just aren't clicking like they have been for Jack, really going back 2 consecutive seasons where he's been unstoppable.
Yeah, he really has been on a real confidence high. And as you said, Pete, that's kind of wavered. And that's a difficult, it's a slippery rope to climb back up, when you start sliding. But, the word is that he is 100% in terms of his fitness, little question mark around the mental game. But, the one thing is that he's in attack mode again rather than defending, being in that top Final Five. He's, okay, I want to get back up there. So that's going to, bring out a little aggression and some enthusiasm into his performance.
Well, looking to see what Jack's going to do in this event. Remember, a lot at stake as well for the women in the draw. Now competing here once again at Jeffreys Bay. Carissa looking for her 2nd title and looking to potentially clinch that number 1 seed heading into the Rip Curl WSL Finals. More on the women rankings and what's at stake coming up next on Dawn Patrol. Big section for Caitlin Simmers. Talk about a sizable wall. Caitlin Simmers, champion of the Vivo Rio Pro, presented by Corona. The rookie female has been having a stellar rookie season. 2 big wins this year, putting her at number 5 on the rankings, right behind Molly Picklum. And now she takes her first trip to Jeffreys Bay. Caitlin will have Picklum in her opening round matchup later on today. Also adding Gabriella Bryan, who is world number 8, coming into stop number 9 of the season. Remember, 3 spots left to clinch as all roads lead to the Rip Curl WSL Finals. Joe Turpel, Peter Mellon, Richie Lovett. Richie, we're thinking about the youthful movement with Caitlin Simmers, kind of naturally taking big wins against her heroes. Now coming to Jeffreys Bay. Will she stay hot since she's had some up and down results this year?
I think she will. The question mark for me is whether she's going to adapt to the J-Bay lineup and how quick she can do it. I keep coming back to it. It's one of these ways where you got to figure it out. Similar to Bell's, it's got its moods and it can expose you. So she feels like she's that switched on that she can just tune in really quickly. Some of the performances yesterday, I saw her surfing and she was absolutely ripping. So.
It's interesting because you look at comparisons to Caitlin Simmers. We're always going Tom Curran, names like this. Those types of surfers tend to have a direct connection with the walls of Jeffreys Bay. Are you expecting that natural connection with Caitlin Simmers?
I am, absolutely. I am almost Dane Reynolds is kind of somebody that I really correlate her to. And Dane always was surprising no matter what. We could always look at, she's a rookie. She's never been here before, doesn't know the boards. I mean, there's a lot of questions that she has to answer, but she's so talented that I think it's just she's going to blow our minds. Kind of what's going to happen.
So we saw Caitlin Simmers move to 5, but the big story is Stephanie Gilmore, Tatiana Weston-Webb outside the final 5. Rich, in your mind, who has more pressure here at Jeffreys Bay?
Steph's one of these women who you would just expect to already be in that top 5 situation, but she's not. But, Steph came straight from Brazil to J-Bay, so she's had some incredible waves in the lead-up, and that just tells me in itself that she is ready to go and prepared to put in the work. So I actually bought a board over for her because she felt like she didn't quite have all her equipment dialed. We can digest that and we'll break it down, but a little bit heavier in the glassing, just trying to tune those boards in. And, she's won this event before, and when you think of Stephanie Gilmore and these long right-hand walls, it's just a match made in heaven, So we may not see that typical offshore groomed wave. So then, is Steph going to be able to adapt to the condition changes?
Feeling some pressure. Interesting. You kind of think maybe don't let it go to Tahiti if you're Gilmore for a chance at the final 5. What about you, Pete? Who's feeling the pressure?
Well, and especially when you think about Tati, right? And going into Tahiti, you'd have to say that she's a favorite here. But you think about Tati's got to defend a title. She's last year's champion. She's got to get herself into that final 5. So a lot of pressure is going to be on her shoulders here. I expect her to feel it, but perform in it. I think that we've seen it from Tati in the past where she can perform with that high pressure. We've also seen her kind of buckle. So, again, where was she and how's she feeling? I guess the question will be answered in the first round. We get to check it out.
Really cool to see Tati in this kind of form. I saw her traveling over here, and she looked really comfortable, really solid in her confidence, just well prepared. And I think that goofy foot approach out here, she's not afraid of hanging it up on the lip and going for a free fall. That's been scoring really well for her in the last few years, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely. And you could just see in the replays there was some size to it, and she looked so comfortable squaring off the bottom and just hitting that lip, and that's the secret for the backside, is that timing needs to be perfect.
As we look at all roads leading to the Rip Curl WSL Finals, we also need to update you on Olympic qualification as well. And the Italian is really focused on representing his country in the Olympic Games. So we'll give you the entire rundown and really focus on Pete and Richie's picks for qualification coming up next on Dawn Patrol. Good morning. Welcome back to Jeffreys Bay. The sun is up. It's warming up as well, about 46 degrees Fahrenheit, about 8 degrees Celsius. And the swell should be filling in just a little bit more, maybe stronger pulses later on this afternoon. Having Travis Logie call the contest on here for opening day of competition. We've been breaking it all down for the title race with Joe, Pete, and Richie. But now let's focus on Olympic qualification season. For the second time in history, surfing included in the Olympic Games. This time the venue different, with Paris 2024 having the venue at Tahiti, which is incredible. 4 surfers already on the women's side provisionally qualifying. Tatiana Weston-Webb, Joanne Defay, Brisa Hennessy, and Teresa Bonvillain are going to be representing their countries as they go for gold. Joanne, great on a left on a shallow reef. Tati, a hard-charging athlete. As we focus in on the exciting race for other countries, Pete, what are you looking forward to seeing here?
Well, the USA race, you think about right now in that final 5, you got 1, 3, and 5, Caitlin, Caroline, and Carissa. I mean, that is going to be exciting to watch that unfold. Only 2 surfers are going to be into the Olympics, so big battle going to be happening there. It'd be interesting to see it go all the way to the Rip Curl Finals and to decide not only the world title, but also Olympic qualification. And talk about pressure between all those surfers. It is definitely there.
A ton of pressure. So just 8 women qualifying through our Tier 1 championship tour. So 4 already provisionally qualifying. That makes things incredibly exciting. Richie, also on the men's side, you look at all the big names that are trying to represent their country in the Olympics. What are you seeing here?
Wow, for me, it's the Brazilians. It's a super interesting race there. Ethan's looking really good for the Aussies, but when you see Felipe Toledo right up the top of the list there, and then Zhao Chianca, Iago Dor, and Gabriel Medina, think about Chopu. You'd have to say that Medina and Iago would be the favourites there, so they would be wanting a chance to make that qualification. But for me, Toledo is the man to beat. He is just so strong this year, and you know that he wants a gold medal.
And then also flipping the page here, what about for USA, Pete?
Well, a lot going on there as well. Once again, Griffin sitting at number 2, John Florence sitting there as number 2 in the qualification. But you can't count out the other Hawaiians that are there, and Kelly, looking for that long shot.
Yeah, it's so true. When you look at that list for USA, all of those athletes incredible at the end of the road in Tahiti. And so you kind of see how some countries are trying to probably will certain surfers to get those spots. It'd be kind of strange if Medina didn't get to represent at the end of the road for Brazil. So a lot of pressure on him in these last 2 events.
Yeah, there really is, and I guess first and foremost, he's thinking top 5. But, right at the back of the mind there, they'd have to be thinking about the Olympics, and if he makes it, he'd just be going, yeah, I got this. Totally got it. He's got such a good relationship with Chopu. So I feel like, if he does qualify, he'll be one of the real standouts.
We will keep you posted with all that information for Olympic qualification. But let's check out our conditions here for opening day. First heat will be Joao Chianca, Baron Mamiya, and Seth Moniz.